And another goal that we followed was in keeping a 50% savings rate over the course of the 14 years, at least 50%. So I basically wanted to share some of the points that we follow on how we spend less. Here are some of the points that we have. So the number one goal that we follow would be in setting goals in saving for an emergency fund. So that's a great way for you to be goal oriented for where you want your funds to be moved to. And another point would be in not being cheap. So being that minimalist, well, the image is basically people who don't really spend a lot of money and that they're cheap, but that's not true at all. A lot of the products that we look to get, we do a lot of research for. So whenever you're about to buy something, you want to do that research to make sure that you're buying good quality. So saving that money isn't necessarily mean that you have to buy those cheap $30 sneakers. You can go ahead and do a bit more research in buying high quality products. It's going to be most likely the case where that product will last or will be durable for a longer period of time if you spend a little extra money. And also when you're about to spend on something, what we usually do is we think of how much time it takes to buy that item, like how many hours it takes of work to purchase that one item, other than thinking of the item in a dollar figure. So from that, as an example, if you were to have a $20 an hour job, it'd probably take you about 2 weeks to buy an iPhone. So you just have to think about the amount of time it takes to purchase that item in hours. You also want to look at the long-term usage of an item, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, to see whether or not that particular item has a purpose in your life, and also to see how long that item would last as well. So for example, we have a Roomba, which is pretty expensive, but we did some research on it and it turned out to be a very useful piece of item that we have, and it actually cleans our floors on a daily basis. So from that perspective, it was worth having to spend that money for it. And another goal that we followed was in keeping a 50% savings rate over the course of the 14 years, at least 50%. There were some years where we were actually above the 50% savings rate. Like it was more towards the 60% rate, but that was a big factor as well in becoming financially independent. Well, we are in a consumer-based society, and we use our credit cards quite often, and it's normal to even overspend. They actually say that you spend 30% more money using a credit card than using cash. But my point is, if you do have credit card debt, you always want to make sure that it's paid off each of those months to avoid those interest penalties that could range from 15% to over 20% on some cards. So it's not really worth having to pay that extra just because your credit card balance is overdue. So you basically want to spend your money where you spend your most time. Like for example, for myself, I have hobbies such as playing tennis and also camping. So I do spend a lot on my tennis gear, and because there's a lot of added benefit to playing tennis, like for your health as an example. And for camping, we probably spent a good $3,000. I know that sounds like a lot, but that's how much we spent initially, and that was for all of our camping gear and all of our hiking gear. The boots are pretty expensive for hiking, and tents and all the gear added up. Basically, when you focus all on your interests, then yeah, that's a great way to spend your money. And the rest of this stuff just turns out to be clutter. You'll basically begin to recognize those extra items that you bought as being superficial and items that you probably won't need in the longer term, and just builds up as clutter. And if you have any big purchases that you want to buy, what we usually do is we wait a good 10 to 30 days and we actually write that item down on a piece of paper and we look back at it, and we figure out whether or not we need it there in the future. But chances are, if you wait that long of a duration, you probably don't need that item in the first place. Another thing that you definitely want to look at would be your recurring payments. For these, you want to look at all of the magazine subscriptions or the newspaper subscriptions, or even your gym subscriptions, gym passes I mean, that you pay on a monthly basis. Some people forget about this, and it's pretty dangerous letting, it's almost like having a small little puncture in your tire and that air just starts slowly leaking out. So it's really important for you to look at your recurring payments and cut them off and find some other alternatives. For example, you can go to the library, and there's a number of resources in the library. You can borrow those magazines, you can borrow those videos, you can get those music CDs all for free at a library. And also a gym pass is pretty killer too, because some people actually go to the gym maybe dedicated to go the very first month, but after that they get kind of lazy, and out of embarrassment they just let the recurring payment continue because it means that they've admitted defeat. But there are a number of different ways to work out from home, and I actually made a vlog about it, so check it out, and you'll see that it'll probably be pretty fun to just work out at home, other than going to the gym and wasting all that money. That ranges from about $50 to $100 a month. You may also want to look at your cell phone plan as well. Some of those cell phone plans rack up to be pretty expensive as well, and sometimes a lot of those features you don't even use at all. So I actually have a free messenger app, but for that I force my friends to get it, but they're happy to do so I'm able to contact them. You can also turn down the heat in your home as well. Just wear a sweater. A lot of people just crank up that heat just because it's a little bit cold in home, but just by wearing a couple layers of clothing is probably the best solution to save on those heating bills as well. But another place that a lot of people spend a lot of their money would be just the commute to and from work, like taking that car, the gas guzzler. But the solution there would be to maybe get yourself a bicycle, and you can just wake up a little bit earlier in the morning, especially if your workplace is pretty close by. That way you can save a lot on gasoline, and you'll be a lot healthier as well, just cycling to work. And finally, the last point I'd like to bring up, sorry it's a little bit windy out here, hopefully this video turns out well and you can hear me properly, but the last point would be in planning out your meals. If you can freeze your meals on a weekly basis, take one of your weekends to just make a batch of food and just freeze it up so you can use it and eat it during the week. So not only is there time efficiency, but you'll be able to save a lot of money as well by portioning out your food. Going out and eating outside at a restaurant does add up, and we go occasionally for special events, of course, birthdays, etc. But other than that, in the majority of cases, we do eat indoors. Well, I think I'll end my vlog here today. Tell me what you think of all the points that I mentioned on how to spend less in your daily living. And maybe you can share some points of your own in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thank you for watching my vlog. I hope you have a great day, and see you soon.